When day 9 of Brown's training camp kicked off, fans expected the usual QB rotation. Shedeur Sanders had been slowly working his way into reps, showing flashes of what made him such a talked-about prospect. But then, nothing. Not a single snap. Not in team drills, not in individual work, and not even during the hungry dog period, the final session designed for lesser-used players to prove themselves. It wasn't just a quiet day, it was a full-on disappearance. For someone who's been fighting for a spot in a crowded quarterback room, this wasn't normal. Cameras caught him on the sideline in full gear, helmet off, just watching. No trainers, no visible discomfort, no tape, no brace, no limp, nothing that screamed injury. Just a total absence from action, with no warning, no explanation. Naturally, the rumors started flying. Was he being benched? Was there drama behind the scenes? Or was the team trying to send a message? The coaches didn't say a word during practice, but after it ended, one local reporter caught up with Shadur, and that brief exchange only added fuel to the fire. As players filed off the field, Cleveland Browns reporter Tony G managed to catch Shadur for a quick word. It wasn't a sit-down, it wasn't planned, just one of those off-the-cuff moments that sometimes reveal more than a press conference ever could. Tony asked him how he was doing, and Shedur's response, just 2 words, "I'm good." No elaboration, no explanation, just a calm, almost dismissive answer before walking off. For a quarterback who just sat out an entire day of camp, that response raised more questions than it answered. A short while later, the Browns finally broke the silence. Their official statement? Shadur was dealing with arm soreness. But that didn't quite add up, because here's the thing. Of all the quarterbacks in camp, Shadur has taken the fewest reps. By far, if anyone should be feeling fresh, it's him. And yet, he was the one shut down for the day. Fans weren't buying it. Some started speculating the team was protecting him. Others wondered if internal decisions were being made quietly behind closed doors. But one thing was clear. This wasn't just a rest day. Something else was going on. Officially, the Browns are chalking it up to arm soreness. Unofficially, it feels like we're watching the team play a very calculated game. Because if you've been following Shedeur Sanders since his Jackson State days, you know one thing for sure. He plays through pain. This is the same guy who's gutted it out with a bad ankle, taken brutal hits behind a shaky offensive line, and even played with what insiders have hinted was a spinal fracture last season. He's not the type to sit out unless someone else makes that call, which is exactly why the decision feels suspicious. And here's where it gets interesting. Multiple sources close to the team believe the Browns already know what they've got in Shadur, that they've seen enough, that they might even be quietly locking in their future QB plans and giving him the veteran treatment while the others scrap for depth chart spots. If that's true, then Shadur being held out might not be a setback, but a sign of just how serious the Browns are about his long-term role. And while Shadur stood on the sideline, someone else got their big shot, Gabriel. With Shadur sidelined, Gabriel had the perfect stage. A full day of reps, limited competition, all eyes on him. If there was ever a moment to prove he belonged, this was it. And yet, what followed was anything but impressive. Gabriel, who's been labeled a system guy by some scouts, showed exactly why critics have questioned whether his game would translate to the NFL. Its timing was off. His reads looked rushed, and while he had plenty of snaps to work with, he struggled to create any real momentum. At one point, he even fumbled the ball, an unforced error that had coaches shaking their heads. Even with veteran Joe Flacco also in rotation, it felt like Gabriel had been handed a rare opportunity and let it slip right through his fingers. Fans were hoping for a spark, a surprise, something that would force the coaching staff to take notice. But instead, the performance only confirmed what many already suspected. Gabriel might not be cut out for the league's big moments. And while that window closed fast for Gabriel, it only made Shedur's absence feel more strategic. Because what's coming next might say everything. On the surface, this just looks like a routine day of camp. One QB sits, another gets extra reps. Nothing new, right? But when you look closer, the pieces start to line up in a way that feels deliberate, like a team quietly rearranging its chessboard. The Browns have 4 quarterbacks in camp. That's more than most teams carry this deep into preseason prep. But the way reps are being distributed doesn't feel random. Flacco gets veteran treatment. Gabriel gets thrown into the fire. Pickett does just enough to stay on the fringe. And Shadur? He's the only one being protected. Why? It could be the Browns are positioning Shadur as the long-term play, a future franchise QB they don't want to overexpose too early. Instead of proving himself through meaningless camp drills, he might already be earning something bigger: trust. And by pulling him back now, the Browns might be keeping him healthy and under wraps until it really matters. Because once the preseason kicks off, there'll be no hiding. And if Shadur is who they think he is, that first real game action could change everything. While the cameras stayed locked on the reps, Dylan Gabriel was burning through, Shedeur Sanders stayed in the background, watching, waiting, and working. Multiple eyewitnesses said he didn't just stand around. He ran extra routes with receivers, stayed after practice, and kept his routine sharp, even without the pads on. That doesn't sound like a quarterback nursing soreness. It sounds like a guy who's already dialed in. For fans who followed his rise from Jackson State to Colorado, none of this is surprising. Shedur's been counted out, overlooked, and doubted at every level. And every time, he's responded the same way, by quietly grinding until nobody can ignore him. What's happening in Cleveland feels like the next chapter in that same story. He doesn't need to throw 40 times a day in camp to prove himself. The Browns already know what they have, and they might be hiding their biggest weapon in plain sight. While other rookies scramble for attention, Shedur's handling things differently. Calm, quiet, dangerous. And once the preseason lights flip on, don't be shocked if the rookie with the sore arm is the one stealing the show. Joe Flacco isn't just a veteran, he's a Super Bowl MVP. And right now, he's the Browns' safety net. The media sees him as the bridge, a temporary fix. But to Shedeur Sanders, Flacco might be something else entirely, the blueprint. Behind the scenes, insiders say Flacco has taken a quiet leadership role in the QB room. He's reportedly spending time with Shadur, walking him through coverages, sharing tricks of the trade, and showing him what it really means to command an NFL huddle. This isn't a typical mentor-rookie dynamic. It's more strategic than that. Because while Flacco is here to start, everyone knows he's not the future. And Shadur? He might be learning how to take over without ever being handed the job outright. It's the kind of slow burn setup that turns into a takeover, where one guy holds the torch just long enough to pass it cleanly. And with each quiet day Shadur spends learning behind the scenes, his moment grows closer. Flacco's presence gives the Browns stability, but it also gives Shadur time. And when that clock runs out, Shadur won't just be ready, he'll be dangerous. Everything we've seen so far, it's just been the warm-up. The real test is coming, and it's coming fast. Preseason games are where depth charts get rewritten, where coaches stop talking about potential and start demanding production. And right now, the Browns have a QB room on the verge of combustion. Gabriel's window is closing, Pickett's clinging to relevance, Flacco's holding the line. But Shadur, he's the wild card no one's ready for. If he steps onto that field and delivers, even just flashes the poison precision he's known for, everything changes. The media headlines, the fan expectations, the Browns' entire QB plan. And that's exactly why the team might be holding him back. Because they know the moment he throws his first live pass, there's no going back. The buzz will be deafening, the pressure immense, but Shedur's never shied away from the spotlight. He's just been waiting for the right one. And when it hits, the league might have no choice but to pay attention. Right now, Shedeur Sanders is the calm before the storm. No flashy headlines, no overhyped reps. Just silence, shadows, and something building beneath the surface. The Browns aren't saying much. The reps aren't showing much. But every move they've made, every rest day, every subtle shift in the quarterback pecking order suggests they're preparing for something big. And Shadur might be the secret they're trying to keep under wraps. Meanwhile, other quarterbacks are fumbling their chances, literally and figuratively. But Shadur, he's watching, learning, sharpening his edge. It's not a matter of if his time will come, it's when. And when it does, don't expect him to just fit in. Expect him to take over.